Well, what a beautiful day that God has made. Allow me to pass my greetings to you. Jambo. I am so delighted to get this great opportunity to come again and to have such a wonderful moment that we can share through the Word of God. How was your week and how was your day? And even how are you together with your family? You know, brothers and sisters, last time that we talked about the greatness of God. Allow me, brothers, to still go on with this topic, the greatness of God. I know that we are living in a time where almost everything has a beginning and even a manufacturing date. Every one of us now know our birthdays. I'm saying of now because our parents or our grandparents, though they had a beginning, they didn't know their birthdays. I remember when I was growing up and I would ask my grandmother, when were you born? And she would give me a season, like when she probably was born. And even though she was not so sure when exactly she was born, she knew what was happening in that time. She knew the season. That means she also had a day that she began in this life. Because we are living in a time where people are so much acquainted to beginnings, to birthdays, to expiry dates, to the days that we even expire from this life, to weaknesses. It is beyond imagination when we come to a place of talking to a God, or talking about a God that is worthy to be believed by you and me. A God who is all powerful, a God who is all present, a God who is all knowing, a God who is beyond the comprehension of the mind of man. Brothers and sisters, allow me today to go to ways on how the greatness of God is expressed, or how we even come to terms with the greatness of God. Allow me to read our very main verse today, the book of Psalms, Psalm 145. It's a praise of David. It's a song of God's majesty and love. Psalm 145 from verse 1 to verse 3. I will extol you, my God, O King, and I will bless your name forever and ever. Every day I will bless you. I will praise your name forever and ever. Verse 3. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. Allow me to do again verse 3. Psalm 145 verse 3. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. Brothers and sisters, I know that when we go to the books of history, we are also aware of people that are called the great. Alexander the Great, we have the great. Even in Africa we have chiefs who are seriously great. By then, in all explanation of how great they were, they had great riches, they had great vast of land, they had so many children, they ruled in power that they had then. But brothers and sisters, even the great of the great that we hear today are no more, most of them. We have heard of people like Winston Churchill. We have heard of great presidents like our founding fathers, that we know great men and women who fought for our independence. I think sometimes that we have not appreciated as much people like Dedan Kimathi and others, great and men and women who sacrificed, and they were feared because of their immense strength and wisdom on matters that they were driving then. But brothers and sisters, most of those people are no more. Why? Because even in their strength, they were still limited. Their greatness was not unsearchable. Their greatness was not unsearchable. Their greatness was still limited. Allow me to introduce you to a God, and that is our God, the maker of heaven and earth. And this God, he is great and greatly to be praised. Why? And because again, his greatness is unsearchable. The unsearchability of his greatness means that our simple minds, or even the greatest minds that we have in this world, cannot be able to comprehend or to fathom or to totally understand the greatness of our God. Why is this important for us to know the greatness of God? Brothers and sisters, are we not in some very pressing times when with the virus, with the pandemic that is ongoing right now, that you almost feel like nations have been proved almost helpless and hopeless and powerless. They are not able to contain the virus. Who would have thought that a pandemic would shake nations, would shake even the world powers? But brothers and sisters, if the pandemic could shake the world powers, what about some developing nations? How much more? What power did we have to fight this thing? But I would like to bring to you this God who is great, and his greatness is unsearchable, brothers and sisters. And as we talk about this God, is a continuation of what we began last time. Allow me to talk again about the greatness of God in his existence. We talked about it last time, did we not? But the greatness of God in his existence. And brothers and sisters, as we began to say that everything has a beginning. Everyone has a beginning. I would even ask you, when were you born? And yeah, or when did you begin your business? Or when did you marry? Everything has a beginning. But this God in his existence, brothers and sisters, one of the things that we need to know is that this God is the uncreated one. This God is the uncaused one. Everything as allow me to use these words of this great Bible scholar by the name Rabbi Zacharias. And one day he said that God is the only entity in the whole universe whose reason for existence is within him. What does that mean? That everything else, the reason for the existence of everything else is outside us. The reason for my existence today is outside me. I do not have power to live a day. The ability for me to live is upon God to give me an opportunity to live, an opportunity to do what I can do, or even to go on with his life, brothers and sisters. But this God, because he is uncaused and he is uncreated, the reason for his existence is within him. Everything else, the existence of everything else depends on somebody else or something else, brothers and sisters. But I am here, even us, as we are talking right now, the great of today, the current great people, they would say where they began. Everybody is a son or a daughter to someone, but our God is uncreated, is uncaused. His purpose or the reason for his existence is within him. that is beyond imagination in our finite minds, in our small minds. Because we know, we are acquainted that everything comes from something. How did God come from nothing? Where did God even come from? You know, brothers and sisters. But glory be to God. Because if our God was created, if our God was caused, if our God has a date, he must have an end. But brothers and sisters, the reason for the existence of our God is within him. Oh, look at the greatness of this God. Allow me still, as I talk on the greatness in his existence, to talk of a God who lives beyond time and beyond space. That he is a never-present God. You know, the other day, the other day when we were thinking about this God living beyond time and space, there's a statement I said here that to God, eternal past and eternal future are in one eternal now. What does that mean? That means to God, that maybe in our understanding we'll talk of the past or even the future, but to him, all of them are combined in one eternal now. Look at this God, who is a God who is not limited by time, who is not limited also by space. Eternity lives within him. Eternity, brothers and sisters, lives. The past and the future lives, in fact, resides inside him. Oh, brothers and sisters, he was before time began to count. The book of Genesis, by the way, when you go to the book of Genesis, you know, it all begins like this, the book of Genesis. And we all know that in the beginning, God. When you go there, in the beginning, God. And you then continue with whatever it says. Let me read. In the beginning, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created heavens and the earth. What would that mean, brothers and sisters? That the beginning that we see in the book of Genesis was not the beginning of God, but it was the beginning of what he created. That is our God, brothers and sisters. A God who is not limited by time. A God who is not defined within the structures of time and space. He is not a God who can be locked into a box of time and space. He is not a God who can be limited to a geographical area. He is everywhere. He is everywhere at the same time, all the time. Let me say that again, because the greatness of our God, brothers and sisters, as I say again, it is in his existence, and he exists everywhere, all at the same time, all the time. I'm in Kenya right now preaching from Githurai 45, but I can assure you that wherever you are listening in from, God is where you are, and he is here, that where I am, and he is everywhere all the time, at all times. Everybody else is limited. I can only be here now. And you can only be where you are now. You can only be in one place, no matter your position, no matter whether you are a prince, whether you are a queen, whether you are a president, whether you are whatever you are, whether you are this what do we call these guys who go to the space, whatever the name is lost. Even when they go to space, they can only be there. Brothers and sisters, when I am not at home, I am then not at home. I am here because I cannot be all everywhere at the same time, all the time. All the times, brothers and sisters. But in the greatness of our God, he is everywhere at the same time, all the times. He is not a limited God. He is not a God who can be touched by the aspect of time, though he respects time, he honors time, and he ordains that everything below and at the sun goes according to times and seasons, brothers and sisters. Again, as we talk of a God who lives beyond time and space, honors time and space, this God is not improved by time. And he is also not, he will not also diminish by time. We know of guys who were very strong 20 years ago, but as time has gone, they have faded. Their strength has faded. You know, some of them have lost their memory. They were great intellectual people, but time has faded their intellectual power. When they were growing in intellect, but at one time they started to diminish. As time went on, they started to diminish in time, in that intellectual power. But our God, brothers and sisters, was not improved by the passage of time. Neither will he also diminish or fade out in power or in any way, because he's a God who believes beyond time and space. This reminds me of a story that a Sunday school teacher one time, she was teaching and on the topic of God and the greatness of God and where he lives. And she wanted to start the topic by a question: where is God? Where does God dwell? And she got to one kid, the pastor's kid, and the pastor's kid lifted up the hand. You know, people think that pastors' kids know everything. Please let kids be kids. Whether they're the kids of the president, whether they're the kids of a pastor, or whether they're the kids of whoever, let kids be kids. And kids are always kids. And also, she asked, where does God dwell? And the kid of a pastor lifted up the hand. And the teacher was like, yes. And the kid said, God lives in a toilet. And she was surprised. How could you say that God lives in a toilet? And so she wanted to know. And so the kid started explaining that every time I wake up in the morning, I always find my mom outside the toilet, the washroom, there, or asking God, and she would do as she kept on singing the mother, oh God, oh my God, are you still in there? Outside the toilet door there. But over the time, that's what she saw every morning, defined her perception of where God lived. And only now for the teacher to come to know that the pastor had turned the toilet into an intercessory room. And when the wife woke up and she was pressed, she wanted the pastor out of that toilet, and all that she would do was, oh my God, she was being pressed. My God, are you still in there? What is your perception of God today? What is some of the people think that God is in a mountain somewhere, and others think that God is in a valley somewhere, or God is caged somewhere. He is a God who is not limited by time and space. And even as we come to the end of talking of the greatness in his existence, I want to say that because his existence is not determined by time and space, he is a God who changes not. He is a God who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That is the reason for us today to trust in him. He is a dependable God, for he does not change. So brothers and sisters, this God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is a God who does not change. You know, the reason why you and me change is because we are controlled by situations. The situations sometimes define who we are, where. But this God, he is in his existence. He is so solid. He remains the way he was. Therefore, brothers and sisters, God is great in his existence, in that he is changing and changing. He does not change with the time. He does not change with the change in place. No, the God of Africa is the God of everywhere else. The God of where you are is the God of where I am. He is the same. His standards remain. He is the holy God. He is a powerful God. word, this man called David would say that you are great and greatly to be praised. And his greatness is unsearchable. Think of a God or an entity in the universe that does not change. He is the same in the eternity past as he will be the same, and he will be the same in the eternity future. The eternity does not change this God. Brothers and sisters, no matter kingdoms come and go, but he remains the same. No, people know him, others don't know him. People ignore him, others adore him. That does not change him. He is the King of Kings. He is never less because we don't believe in him, or he is not a more God because all the world believes in him. He remains the same. He is not more powerful because more people are following him, or he's never less powerful because he's not less powerful because more and more people are ignoring the reality and the reason for God. This God changes not. He changes not in his character. He changes not in his attributes. He is the same God all the times. That is how he exists. If he would change, then he is not God. Brothers and sisters, allow me to talk about the greatness, the unsearchable greatness of God in his power. You know, brothers and sisters, we have grown in times when the powers of the presidents have been defined by the constitution of the land. And particularly in our nation, we thought that presidents are beyond the laws of the land, only to come to know that no one is above the law. Their powers, and the powers have been limited everywhere, brothers and sisters. There is no one, no matter the opposition, who is beyond the power, who has a power beyond the comprehension of people. The powers of people have been defined, but the powers of those in the positions of power have been defined by people. But I want to introduce you to a God who no one can sit and come up with a constitution or amend his constitution to declare that the power of God can only come to this far. Brothers and sisters, and the power of God, if you ask me, is shown everywhere. Whether you want to deny it, it is shown everywhere by nature. Have you thought of the power of God in his creation? That by his word only, let there be, there was. When he came to the creation of anything else, he said, let there be, and there was. This God is powerful, brothers and sisters, not only in his creation or in his creative power, but again, brothers and sisters, in how he sustains what he created. What he created is not does not, everything that was created does not sustain itself. He, as God who is great, and great in his greatness is unsearchable. The greatness of God, the unsearchability of his greatness is in how he sustains what he created. Brothers and sisters, the other day there was this beautiful song that we were singing, that who told the ocean that you can only come this far. Oh, glory be to God that nobody, no one has the ability to declare to the ocean that you can only come this far. But what he created, he sustains it. He knows the creative power of God is evident. Look, brothers and sisters, tell me on this greatness of his power. When you think of the power of a seed, when you think of a power of a seed, that just one seed has a power within it to produce and to produce and to produce more trees if it is put in its rightful environment. Hallelujah. But the power of a seed was who put the power of a seed in itself. It is God who put the power of a seed to produce a forest in the seed. Brothers and sisters, God in his ability to create and to sustain what he created, not only to sustain what he created, but the greatness of his power is is also shown by how he is able to protect when in danger. Brothers and sisters, nothing is beyond the protection of God. If you all would cry to God even today as we are going through this pandemic, this pandemic is not powerful than our God. Our God is able to heal. Our God is able to save. Our God is able to provide. Our God is able, brothers and sisters, to give us wisdom to handle this pandemic, because he is an all-powerful God. No wonder the book of Isaiah chapter 40, the book of Isaiah chapter 40 would ask, who is there to be compared to this God? I want to ask, who can be compared to God in his power to create, in his power to sustain, in his power to protect? Brothers and sisters, when Mary was visited by an angel, and she was told that she is going to be pregnant and bear a son, and the angel will tell the angel, the conversation between her and the angel would come up to a point where she would ask, how will this be possible? Because she could not just imagine how she becomes a mother without the involvement of a man. But brothers and sisters, the ability of God to go beyond the confines of the confines of the man, the human mind, was able, until there was this question: is there anything impossible with God? And I want to see, in the power of God that is not searchable, there is nothing that is impossible with him. And in the book of Jeremiah, there was this question: is there anything too hard for this God? I want to say there is nothing that is too hard for God. And as I come to the end, my brothers and my sisters, allow me to talk about this God's greatness in wisdom and knowledge. He is all-knowing God. He is all-wise God. There is nothing that is hidden from him. You know, nations are using millions of dollars to spy, to get information, to investigate. But I want to bring to your attention that anything can be hidden from all the people, but nothing can be hidden from God, because nothing happens behind his back. Even what will happen millions of years, he knows, and he knows it very well. I have somebody who said that God knows your end from the beginning, because he is a God who is all-knowing and all-wise God. And brothers and sisters, this is a God in that character of not being searchable, in his wisdom and in his knowledge. Brothers and sisters, he does not require a counselor, neither does he require a teacher. And in the book of Isaiah chapter 40, Isaiah chapter 40 verse 14 and 15, particularly 14, the Bible would say, or either 13 and 14, sorry, he would say, who has directed the Spirit of the Lord on us, his counselor has taught him. With whom did he take counsel, and who instructed him and taught him in the path of justice? Who taught him knowledge and showed him the way of understanding? Brothers and sisters, this God is a great God in his knowledge, in his own wisdom, because he does not require a teacher, he does not require a lecturer, he does not require a counselor to teach him knowledge, to teach him a skill, to teach him understanding. Brothers and sisters, everybody, regardless of what they were taught, and they require a teacher. All of us need to sit in a class to be taught. Even the great minds, they had to sit and they were taught. But I want to introduce you to the greatness of this God, because he is all-knowing. He would be a lesser God then if he needed anybody to teach him how to do things and how to sustain the world, or even how to create it. Brothers and sisters, as we talk of an all-knowing God, this should call us more into prayer, even into humility. Because, allow me, we are people very sinful, particularly when we are in the private. We do things that are so bad when hidden. Oh, when we know that those who supervise us are not anywhere. When we know there is no one to judge us. But this morning when I was thinking of an all-knowing God, I started feeling exposed. In that even my mind that I've never spoken, He knows it. Then I felt humbled enough to run to Him for forgiveness, because I can't hide. David would say, one time he would say, even if, where would I run from you? Even if I lay my bed in hell, you're still there. It's like the eyes of God are everywhere. According to our understanding, He is all-knowing. There is nothing that we can hide from Him. We cannot hide strength from Him. We cannot hide weakness from Him. We cannot hide sin from Him. We cannot hide attitudes from Him. There is no secret that we can hide from Him. There is God that we believe in. And as I said last time, there is so much that we can talk about the greatness of God, brothers and sisters. We can talk about the greatness of God in His faithfulness. But brothers and sisters, in the interest of time, allow me to say, as I said, the importance of knowing and understanding the greatness of our God takes us into a number of things. One, it ignites our faith in God. Not only igniting, it becomes the foundation of our faith in God. The more you understand His greatness, the more your faith is built in Him. Brothers and sisters, the more again you understand the greatness of God, the more you can trust in Him. He's a dependable God. Brothers and sisters, and even as I continue talking, if you're writing, you can write this, that the more you continue understanding this God, brothers and sisters, the greatness of this God, the more your heart is drawn into worship, is drawn into praise, and not just a praise because there is a song that is being led by a worship team, but you get into worship because, brothers and sisters, there is something within us when we sense greatness that drives us into worship. Brothers and sisters, how it would be good if all of us, me and you, would be drawn into worship by knowing how great this God is. How great this God is. He is great, and His greatness is unsearchable. May God bless you so much as you put your faith in Him, as you trust in Him, even as you desire to know Him more and more. Because again, when you know the greatness of God, you realize that you need to know Him more. Because when you know, you always know there is more to know. And the desire for this God keeps on being ignited and growing. Again, there is no time that you can spend on earth that is enough to exhaust the greatness of God. He is a great God, and His greatness is unsearchable. God bless you so much. Until next time.